You've heard it before. You're too sensitive. You care too much. You feel too deeply. You speak honestly. You love hard. And somehow, that's too much for some people. So you start wondering if there's something wrong with you. You question your voice, your feelings, the size of your heart. You sent the long messages. You stayed up late when they needed someone. You remembered the little things, even when no one remembered you. But no one noticed when you started to fall apart. No one stayed when your love stopped being easy, when your light began to dim. One day someone told you that you were too much, and you believed them. You took those words like a warning label and wore them like armor. Yes. You smiled smaller. You spoke softer. You tried to take up less space. You made yourself quieter, easier, less intense. You thought maybe if you were more acceptable, you'd be more lovable. Maybe if you became less, they would finally stay. But here's the truth. You were never too much. They just weren't enough. Weren't ready for someone real. They weren't brave enough to face someone who didn't hide their heart. They liked your light until it made them see their own shadows. They liked your depth until it asked them to go deeper too. So you became smaller, not because you wanted to, but because you thought you had to. You tried to make yourself more bearable for people who were never meant to hold you. But don't you see? You were never too much. It just weren't enough. You tried to be easier to love, so you said less, felt less, needed less. You convinced yourself that maybe being loved meant being less visible. You stopped sharing what excited you because someone once rolled their eyes when you lit up about something. You held back your tears because someone said you were being dramatic. You turned your volume down in rooms that felt too quiet, just so no one would think you were trying to stand out. You laughed a little softer, so no one would feel uncomfortable with your joy. You became careful with your words, worried that saying too much would drive them away. You walked on eggshells in your own mind, constantly editing yourself before you even spoke. You overthought every text, every pause in a conversation, every silence after a truth you shared. You felt like you had to earn your place in someone's heart by being less of yourself. The way you loved became quieter, smaller, safer. But loving quietly never made you feel more seen. It only made you feel more alone. And no matter how small you tried to become, someone always found a way to say it was still too much, too emotional, too clingy, too intense, too everything. But the truth is, shrinking never protected you. It only erased you. And the more you erased yourself to make others comfortable, the more you disappeared from your own life. You lost parts of yourself trying to fit into places you were never meant to stay. You gave pieces of your light to people who never knew how to hold it. So if no one ever told you this before, let me say it now. You never needed to be smaller in order to be loved. The truth is, you weren't too much. You were just more than they could handle, more than they were willing to meet, more than they were ready for. You spoke the truth while they were hiding behind silence. You showed love without conditions while they kept one foot out the door. You opened your heart like a window and they called you vulnerable, fragile to open. But it wasn't weakness, it was courage, it was power, it was rare. They mistook your clarity for pressure, your presence for intensity, your loyalty for neediness. But that says more about them than it does about you. You were never demanding, you were just clear about what you deserved. You didn't ask for too much, you just stopped settling for too little. They couldn't meet you where you were because they had never even met themselves. They couldn't understand your depth because they were too afraid of their own. And people often fear what they can't control, what they don't understand, what they aren't ready for. So they label it too much. But that's not a reflection of your worth. It's a mirror of their limits. They called too much was exactly what made you rare. You carry feeling, depth, presence, clarity, care. You are not excessive. You are exact. You are not overwhelming. You are honest. Someone once told you that love should be easy, and so when you made them feel deeply, they confused it with being hard. But love that asks us to grow often feels uncomfortable at first. So don't mistake their discomfort for your mistake. Don't let their limits rewrite your truth. You are not too much. You are full. You are whole. You are more than enough. Not everyone you meet is meant to stay. Not everyone is capable of receiving the kind of love you give. Some people are only familiar with surface connections. Some people mistake emotional distance for strength. They weren't cruel. They were just unready. They didn't fail you intentionally. They just didn't know how to show up. They weren't bad people. They were just incomplete. And it's not your job to make them whole. You tried to pour oceans into cups that were already cracked. You kept offering your fire to people who only knew how to live in cold. They didn't understand what you were offering, not because it wasn't valuable, but because they didn't know how to hold it. They weren't equipped to match your honesty. They weren't brave enough to meet you in your vulnerability. You didn't scare them because you were too much. You scared them because you showed them what they were not ready to feel. And it's hard to admit, but not everyone has the emotional capacity to love at the depth you do. No, and that's okay. It's not about blame. It's about readiness. It's about alignment. It's about emotional maturity. So let go of the weight of trying to be enough for people who are still trying to be enough for themselves. Let go of the idea that their inability to love you fully means you were too hard to love. It just means they were not meant for your level of truth. You were never asking for too much. You were just hoping for someone who had more to give. So here's what I need you to remember. You never needed to become smaller to be worthy of love. You never had to edit your emotions to be accepted. Never had to quiet your voice just to be heard. The right people will never ask you to be less. They will never shrink you to fit into their idea of comfort. The right people will meet your fire with calm, not fear. They'll meet your honesty with presence, not silence. They won't leave when it gets real. They won't pull away when you feel deeply. You won't have to beg to be understood. You won't have to apologize for being human. There are people who will see your depth as beauty, not burden. People who won't just tolerate your fullness, but cherish it. And when you meet them, you'll know, because they won't flinch when you show them your soul. They'll say this is exactly what I've been waiting for. Not less, not quieter, just you. So stop trying to become someone easier to love. Stop shrinking your spirit to make someone else comfortable. Grow back into yourself. Reclaim your voice. Reclaim your space. You were never too much. You were always exactly enough. You don't have to make sense to everyone. You don't have to be understood by those who were never meant to hold you. Let them call you too much. Let them walk away. Because someone out there is praying to meet someone exactly like you. Not a softer version. Not a smaller version. You. And when they find you, they won't ask you to change. They'll feel lucky that you exist. So until that day, keep choosing yourself. Keep showing up fully, because the right hearts will know, and they won't call it too much. They'll call it home.